Let's talk books about besties, specifically books about female friendships. Today I really want to talk about one of my favourite genres of books, which I'm not even sure if you can classify it as a genre, but it's books that focus on really strong female friendships. This is one of my favourite things to read about, especially when it's done well and it's a complicated and interesting female friendship. So I'm going to go through a whole bunch of books in different genres today that are either really focused on female friendship or that have a great female friendship within the book. So I'm just going to dive right in with the book that you probably already thought about when I said female friendship, and it is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. So this book is originally written in Italian and it follows two friends from when they're children to all the way into adulthood. It's actually a 4-part series, but I've only read the first book, and it focuses on Elena and Lila, who are both brilliant children in their own ways, but one gets opportunities to go and further education and one goes down a different life path, but they remain friends. I know I said this genre is my favourite, but I actually wouldn't say that this book is my favourite in this genre, but I feel like I have to include it because it's really well loved and I can see why people do love it. It's got really complex and interesting writing, and one thing I do love about the book is the complicated nature of the friendship between the two women. Next up, I want to talk about a classic and one of my personal favourite books of all time. It is Emma by Jane Austen. Although a lot of this book is actually focused on the romance, one of my favourite parts of the book is Emma's relationship with her friend Harriet and how through that relationship she really grows as a character. In general, I think Jane Austen is a master at showing this pure and uncomplicated love between friends. But I'm always going to say that you should definitely pick this book up no matter what, because it's just one of my favourite books of all time. The next one I want to talk about is also a classic, and it is Anne of Green Gables. This has such a sweet little innocent friendship in it. And the whole book celebrates growing up and nature and friendship and family, and it's just really beautiful and sweet story. And I just recommend it for any age as well. I read this as an adult and I really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for something sweet and uncomplicated, then I would say pick this up. Next, I want to talk about a more modern author who I think really encapsulates talking about female friendship, and it is Dolly Alderton. I have her novel here, but she's also written memoirs about this, and one of the main things that she talks about is the power of the friendships in her life and how the greatest love that she's ever had in her life is between her friends. And I just love that as a message. Just definitely say if you're a young woman in your 20s or early 30s, then you should definitely pick up Dolly Alderton because she's just such an amazing writer, and I think that she just has such a talent for distilling down so many of the issues that so many people grapple with at that age, and she just writes friendship really beautifully as well. Next up, I really want to talk about a book that I didn't realise would be about female friendships, and then that ended up being one of the best things about the book, even though it's technically like a thriller mystery book, and that is Big Little Lies. I personally read this years after the hype and after the TV show had come out, and I really thought that it would just be one of those books that got way too hyped up, but it just ended up being an absolutely brilliantly written story, and I love the female friendships in this. I also think that the thriller and the mystery component are really well done, but genuinely why I rated this book so highly is because it just made me really happy. The female friendships and how they were depicted, you get lots of different perspectives and you're jumping from character POVs, so it feels really well fleshed out, and I think it's just really well done. So yeah, Big Little Lies. Next up, I want to talk about contemporary fiction, and that is Such a Fun Age. So this book really explores race and privilege, but one of the things that I enjoyed about it so much are how the female friendships were depicted. So you kind of follow two different main characters in this, and you really see the effects that their friendships have on them, and the way they think, and their values, and how they react to certain situations, and how both of the main characters really rely on their friendship groups to either echo back what they're already saying or really challenge them as well. It just makes both of the main characters such well-rounded people, and it's just much more interesting to read. So I just really liked how it was done in this book. Next up, I want to talk about one of my newer favourite books, and it is Bunny by Mona Awad. So this explores maybe the darker and more toxic side of female friendship. It follows this one main character who's on a prestigious writing course, and the other people on the course are this group of girls who all call each other Bunny, and they dress the same and they're very hyper feminine, and she kind of makes fun of them constantly. But then they start reaching out and inviting her to things, and she slowly gets enveloped in within their group, and you really see the kind of toxic side of this female friendship, and I just thought it was so well done and such a fun and dark twisted read. Next up, I want to talk about Girl, Woman, Other, which is such a unique read. You're basically following 12 different interconnected characters, and you're jumping from perspective to perspective. The characters are mainly based in the UK, but you kind of span the world as well, and they're all on their own different paths to self-discovery, but there's lots of exploration of female friendship in this book as well. And in general, this is just such a brilliant read, and I would really recommend everyone picking it up. So the next one I want to talk about is a historical fiction, and it is Small Pleasures by Clare Chambers. So this book follows this quite lonely journalist and what happens when she starts to investigate this woman and her family after she claims that she's had a virgin birth. So she slowly becomes entwined in this family as she's investigating them, but she becomes really enmeshed in their family life. And through her friendship with this family, it just really opens up her entire world. For me, I personally didn't love the ending of this book, but I thought it'd be good to mention for people who like historical fiction. And also just look at this absolutely stunning cover. It's one of my favourite covers of all time. So for me, actually, there's less of these stories that are focused on female friendships in the fantasy genre, but I do have two that I want to talk about. First one is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is about a girl who, when she was young, she had half of her soul stolen by a fey creature. This is set in Regency era England, where having half of a soul means that she's constantly getting into trouble in trying to be in polite society. But our main character isn't really concerned with finding love for herself. She's mainly there to support her cousin in coming out to society. But after she meets a very dashing and rude lord wizard sorcerer, then she gets pulled into all of these fairy politics and affairs as he tries to unravel the mystery of her half a soul. I love this book. It's a really sweet romance, but I also just love the relationship between our main character and her cousin. I think it really well portrayed how friendships don't stay static throughout big life changes, and as people are growing, their friendships also change. So I really enjoyed this one. I recommend picking it up if you like fantasy. So the next fantasy book I want to talk about is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This has 3 very different main characters, but they all come together, and it's got a real family feel to it. So if you like that trope, then I really think you'll like this book. So you're following 3 different characters in this story, but I think that you spend the most time with this moneylender's daughter who starts to take over her father's failing business and brags that she can turn silver into gold. And this gets the attention of the King of Winter, and she's spirited away into this very dangerous land of eternal ice and snow. I love Naomi Novik's writing in general, and I think her plots are always amazing, so I would definitely pick this up if you like female friendships in books. Lastly, I also just really wanted to mention Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. So most of this book is following 2 characters, Alice and Eileen, who have been friends forever. But they're both kind of currently struggling and at very different places in their lives, and they communicate primarily through emails. And it might be an unpopular opinion, but the emails in this book were one of my favourite parts. They're kind of meandering and political and personal. I just thought it was a really fun and realistic way of portraying this female friendship. They both try and challenge and take on the world and challenge each other's ideas, and it's just really interesting. And that was by far my favourite part about the book, because I didn't really love the romance plot in this one. So I think that's all the books that I wanted to talk about today, but please let me know if you have any recommendations for me below, if there's any books that come to mind, because I would absolutely love to hear them. But I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!